counties. The stars are where we have projects clustered in the headwaters up in the northern portion of the watershed, the Little Raccoon Creek watershed. So that's the areas where we had the most extensive underground as well as surface coal mining in those areas at different distributions. Our water quality on the tributaries were impacted. The charts, those are where we really started in the early 2000s. There's been long-term reclamation for many years in the watershed. These are the miles that we monitor. That's not saying those are all the acid mine drainage impacted miles, but those are the ones that we monitor every year. And where you have the blue, that's where the stream miles are a pH of 6.5 or higher. The orange would be 6.5 or lower. So over time, from 2001 down to the most current year, 2013, we are always a year back with our data. It was the first time that all the stream miles that we monitored were meeting our target of a pH of 6.5 or higher. In the early 2000s, especially with our watershed coordinator programs and the ability to have grant funding to have people doing this stuff like this, the water quality work, that's a big accomplishment, and it's taken the work of decades of people, with Raccoon Creek Partnership and then with many of our partners. Our projects are mainly focused on either stopping the acid mine drainage from forming or treating the water. How we figure out this is all working is not just through the chemistry there, but also the biology. So we do electrofishing fish surveys as well as collecting macroinvertebrates. We couldn't have done the big project with our education center without help. We can make big things happen, and the Water Trail Association, our cleanup near the village of Vinton. 4th year, Raccoon Creek Partnership has participated in the Ohio River Sweep. So it's actually part of a whole cleanup where groups clean up all along the Ohio River and the Ohio River tributaries. It's our winter owl prowl, winter tree hikes, we have our kids camps. We have day camps in the spring and fall, and then the summer one. This past year we got a grant to actually work with Big Brothers Big Sisters to hold what we call the Keen Camp. 36 kids, provided transportation. They came out to Lake Hope. Some of them canoed and fished and camped for the first time ever, and we had a lot of volunteers to help out with that. Our summer science camp. Some of these things we do every year. We're always open for that kind of help.
If you're interested in volunteering, we do have a sign-up sheet here.
Professor in the School of Natural Resources at Hocking College. She currently shares her knowledge and love of nature as a holistic health coach and sustainable land use consultant. She loves educating folks about the rich natural resources in their own backyard and how they are important aspects of personal and community health.
For years and years and years, different folks have assisted in the classes that we have taught at Hocking College by coming and making our programs more scientifically rigorous. So in our watershed classes and our wetland classes, a whole host of different types of programs we offer. We really do rely on community organizations. So this is an amazing resource in your backyard, and I'd like us to explore it a little bit in a different fashion. You just heard a lot about what the Raccoon Creek watershed has done over the last so many years, but I'd like to just review so we have a little background history on who we are and where we started. Approximately 112 miles of the stream of Raccoon Creek within 683 square acres of the watershed. 6 different counties are involved in this project, starting just north of the reaches of Lake Hope State Park and then discharging into Ohio River. This is a stream that impacts lots of peoples. Coming out of the diverse deciduous forest, moving through a lot of the abandoned and active mine lands, and then down into the more agricultural basins in Gallia County. This stream takes a lot of impacts from a lot of people. And those have been some of the challenges this watershed has faced over the years. And that's what's so exciting. When I first came down here in the early 70s and worked for the state out at Zaleski, we would go swimming in the Raccoon just to cure our poison ivy. I think the pH must have been about 3.5, I don't know exactly at the time. But it was either bright orange or bright blue, and it really was an effective treatment for poison ivy. They have done a lot. It began as a grassroots community effort. And whoever can tell me what the first county that got involved wins a wonderful t-shirt. Began in the early 80s, and Gallia County started as just the Raccoon Creek Improvement Committee, a group of folks who were concerned about the state and the health of the Raccoon Creek and their communities. They were dedicated to preservation and education as their major goals. In the early 90s, the Raccoon Creek Improvement Committee reached out to all 6 counties to get citizens to be involved at a watershed level. And this was really the beginning of watershed science. Watershed wasn't even a term that was used a lot in the early ecological studies. And in the 90s, it began to be very important, along with wetlands. The Raccoon Creek Improvement Committee has since developed partnerships and grant funding to address 4 major areas of restoration. Everybody just needs to raise their right hand, reach across and pat yourself on the back. Look at how many folks are here at the table today. That's what it's all about. Creating greenways and riparian corridors for protection. Acid mine drainage abatement, and it's incredible to see the work that's been done with the reclamation of the abandoned mine issues. Water is an incredible resource. It runs downstream, it affects everybody, it permeates through the soil, it condenses and raises back up into the clouds and comes back down as precipitation. It's either health-giving or it's toxic. And what the water has had to go through this watershed and many others has been incredible. And to see now the changes that water is now back to a biological integrity is really amazing. And environmental education and ecological awareness. And that's where the Waterloo Aquatic Education Program has come into play. In 2007, they created the official partnership, a 501c3, and began their first 7-member board of directors, and now they're going to be turning that over to some new leadership and continuing off into the future. So that's pretty exciting. There's ongoing debate on how many river miles there really is. So over 100 points of the monitoring, and this stream is now reaching their target goals. What you all are doing is working. Some of the particular projects are the water trails. It's a beautiful stream. So the Waterloo Aquatic Education Center. Heike was a fabulous student in Hocking College, as so many of the folks in this room have been, as I was a long, long time ago. Without people, a watershed is an environmental attribute. With people, it's a living part of a community. To get people to appreciate, so you can educate, and so people will then preserve the resource. The water projects are active, passive, and restorations that include 16 reclamation and target projects. If you haven't had a tour of the watershed, you should get out and see some of the dosers, steel slag beds. In perpetuity, folks, we don't do this kind of damage and think that it's going to just get fixed up if we fix the edge of a stream. These are active, long-term monitoring projects that have to be taken on into perpetuity. All of the stream miles are now under active monitoring, another incredible feat. The total acidity and heavy metal load, sorry for my poison ivy remedy, but at least now abated and is at safe levels. And to you mayfly families, yoo-hoo! Let's hear it for Odonata. For these things to be coming back in this short amount of time speaks a lot. I'd also like you to ponder that riverways, river trails, watersheds are portals. They're webs linking all these different resources, natural, cultural, historical, and your particular passion or hobby. People need involvement with the outdoors to be healthy, sane individuals. They also need passionate pastimes to stay involved with at a community and at a solar level. We can take a peek at what our watershed has to offer. It doesn't matter what the season is, there's something beautiful to encounter. The solitude and quiet of hiking along the watershed, or the many trails that access the Raccoon Creek watershed in the wintertime. The spring beauty, the dogwoods and the redbud. The summertime is lush and incredible, and the autumn is a bittersweet but beautiful time of year. Birding is a huge recreational and economic boom, a resource to tap into. Just beyond the actual Raccoon Creek is the Rails to Trail. I was able to hike it the other day, and it's just incredible how close it puts you to some magnificent wetlands, to some amazing bird and wildlife species. All the wonderful little critters, if you're into amphibians helping you, like the canaries in the coal mines with all the macroinvertebrates, as to the health of streams, rivers, and our woodsheds. And some of the rare, threatened, and endangered species that make it just a little bit exciting to be out there. There's a lot of unique geological features. There's a little bit of worry, and we need to pay attention to, as we make things more accessible, and more people come and it's not a monitored area. Lookout Rock has been very trashed with a lot of people painting and garbage. So those are things where we need the brainstorming of people as to how to abate some of those problems that are out there. Winter time is really the time to get out and see and experience the geology of this area. History is where so many of our impacts have come from. We do have the beautiful wooden bridges. We were endowed with some incredible hardwood forests. And of course, the old railroad days. But the boom-bust economy of a lot of our history is what brought a lot of the issues and problems that are facing the Raccoon Creek today. One would think and one would hope that we would learn some of the past mistakes and that we wouldn't be making some of the same problems over and over again, especially since now we have to monitor them into perpetuity. But what are we doing with fracking? How are we treating our water in our watersheds? We have some personal responsibility in how we use our environmental resources in a sustainable level. There's also the mystery that comes along with the history. And genealogy is another area that makes it exciting and can bring people down here to look through the old cemeteries, to try to find their links to the past or where their families might have come through the area. The Old Hollow Trail with a little pioneer cemetery up there has a beautiful epitaph. And I hope someone will hike up there and do a rubbing. That's a challenge. Get out there and find it before you can't read that old worn limestone any longer.
I will.
Just another natural resource within our watershed. And of course, the Moonville Tunnel and all the ghost stories and the fun books that are now written about the ghosts. So these are ways that we can think to work together with our state parks, state forests to make them accessible, but also to try to keep them so that garbage, debris, trash, or devastation doesn't occur to them as well. These are rich, rich, rich resources. It's amazing what you can do on the watersheds these days. We had a lot of time playing on paddle boards on the Raccoon this summer. But we weren't swimming, as you can see, unless we fell off of the board, which we did regularly. And I do love standing up on the paddle boards because you get such a bird's eye view. We have some of the best single-track mountain biking trails in the eastern part of the United States. And that Moonville Tunnel corridor is cool, it's shady, it's mysterious. So get out there and experience it. I also challenge folks to take groups out and enjoy the just natural beauty that's there. Smell the gentian, find the sanctuary and quiet. It is your right if you take the time to get out into nature. Explore the natural beauty and some of the unique flowers that are only found in our wet and wonderful areas, and the various butterflies and moths that come along with them, our insectary species. Because the talk was going to be on plants of the Raccoon Creek Basin, one of my specialties and one of my true loves, I did have to end with a little bit of botanical review here. It doesn't have to be a endangered species. It doesn't even have to be a native species to have value and importance. Top right-hand corner with that beautiful little purple flower. Does anybody know what that might be? Lobelia syphiliticum. And it was used in the old days to treat syphilis. It is a late summer, early fall blooming flower. How about the one right in the middle? Holler it out if you know it. Pokeweed, Phytolacca americana. What are some uses of pokeweed? An incredible purple dye. Certainly won't stain your car if you park underneath it with the little birds that might also enjoy it as a treat. It's an important wildlife food source. How bad is an edible plant? The young leaves under 12 inches in height. Just use a couple changes of water and don't eat more than a couple helpings each spring, and I think you'll just be fine. It's always been used, the root is a major lymphatic. So getting the lymph drainage moving to get poisons out of the system. And it was particularly used as a poultice for mastitis and tumors. How about the big, beautiful red fruit on the right? Sumac. Anybody know which one? The giant or the smooth sumac is used as a source for Indian lemonade. The fruit is very tasty and high vitamin C. You do have to know how to steep it and drain it through a cheesecloth because it has little hairy fuzzies that aren't particularly palatable, but it is a wonderful, lovely summer drink. An incredible landscape plant. If you're trying to hold soils that are a little bit loose, it has a rhizomatous root that sneaks along there in large stolons and holds loose banks.
Is that like a bush?
It is a shrub, yes.
I've seen it.
It can get up to 25, 40 feet tall. It's also used in Appalachian folklore. Yep, it's one of the rest. Rubus, the leaves make a fabulous tea. They're very nutritive and tonic, good for both male and female reproductive systems. It is turkey tails, Trametes versicolor. This is one of the most studied medicinal mushrooms around the world. There's more scientific literature on this. It is immune modulating and it is anti-cancer. So I encourage you to get to know this readily available plant. You can cook with it in your soups and stews. It's like a bay leaf. You don't eat the woody shelf mushroom, but you get all of the terpenes and all of the amazing long chain sugars that are what really makes the medicine happen in this plant. Dira benzoin, and what are some uses of spice bush? Allspice alternative. Integration Acres in the Paw Paw Festival, they're using it in a lot of their candles. One of the first and foremost tea formulas for children with colds and flus. It's a diaphoretic. It helps you sweat out the fever, and it's tasty, so kids like to take it when they're not feeling very good. Early pioneers looked for in our forest when they moved into this area. What were they looking for this plant for? It's a good fruit for many, many animals. Oh, and it's very important for the spice bush swallowtail. It is a host plant for that beautiful butterfly, but it only grows in supermesic fertile soils. So they knew when they found this plant that they could cut down all the forests and grow their corn. That's kind of a sad statement, but they did look for these indicator plants.
Pawpaws.
Pawpaw, you're good. And what's a good use for pawpaws? Smoothies, eating them, bread. So it is now, thanks to Christian Yale and Integration Acres, the native wild fruit of Ohio, I believe. That's been officialized. It's also the most northern species of that family, the Ananaceae, the custard apple family, the tropical plant this far north. I encourage you to get out, to get connected to your natural environment, to enjoy what's out there and get somebody involved with you.
Submitted one to the Ohio Environmental Council of the kids touching the fish. First time to touch a fish, so I entered it in their photo contest, so I'll let you know if we do any good on that.
You'd be surprised how many people in Guy County really appreciate the work and effort that we're doing in this part of the watershed. They have really seen the improvement down there. And I know there's people in Benton County too along the creek that's seen a lot of improvement too.
Rebecca Ward. Oh, Rebecca Wood.
That's going to hike up. We have a terrarium here. That's going to Maggie, i.e. Hika. And the fall floor hanger is going to Marty. Then we got more. What do you got here?
Yes. Nope.
Our opening words this morning are from Allison Roller. It's good to be together. With heartfelt thanks, we have come together this morning to celebrate the bounty of the day, to bask in the warmth of this community, to share with friends and animals the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hopes for a better future. Join together this morning as always to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived. In questioning and in conversation, in compassion and in service, in gratitude and in joy, in companionship and in love. It's good to be together with you this morning.
Spark of the original fire of creation, to remind us that we are all on this planet, the further, the better, the thin and scale, along with us we are all made of the same star stuff, and all share a common destiny. We all share the same hopes of a life free from harm and suffering, and the same aspirations of happiness, love, and flourishing, being able to express our own unique natures and capacities as best we may. Collectively, we are many diverse perspectives from which the whole is seen and experienced. We are inextricably intertwined, interconnected, interdependent, and interdependent. Blessed be.
We take some time out of our busy lives every week, we're together in community, not just to celebrate being together, us to share what's on our minds and our hearts and our paws.
And an Indian man in his 50s, both of whom are working on children, the good things for children, including education. Rather unique because, of course, the Pakistanis and the Indians don't get along so well, and maybe there's hope.
And I'd like one last candle for all of those joys and sorrows we carry in our hearts and cannot speak. We are sending you light. We are sending you light. Toward you in love. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud, double choir. Some just clap their hands, paws, raise your hands. All that brings up bass and choir. Some sing low, some sing high, some sing out loud, double choir. Some just clap their hands, paws, raise your hands. What's my carpet? What's my Every year, we take a little time. We also bring our animal friends. And is always grateful for Jada Gardner today to lead us in service.
A new day has begun. I greet the earth, the sun, the seas in the sky, and all who walk and crawl and swim and fly. May lift me and guard me today. Lift my heart and light my way in all that I feel and do and think and say. Thank you for this day and its gift of light. Enliven it with love, success, and delight. So mote it be. I say that every morning. When I need to go outside, go. Don't worry about it. This is their day, not our day, so things don't have to go just as smoothly as possible. It's chaos, and I love animal chaos. Animals and the joy and the blessings they bring to our lives. I've been doing animal blessings probably for about 12 years now, and I always felt strange, people asking me to bless the animals. I feel blessed by the animals. They've done more blessing for me than I could possibly have done for them. I'm grateful for my skills as far as helping save lives. Grateful for people like you guys that help us help save lives and that realize and understand the bond between humans and animals. We are a UU, and I know we have a lot of scientific and a lot of degrees and a lot of education and a lot of heart and a lot of innate love for our animal companions, whether they're pets that we pet and they make us giggle, whether they're horses that pull the plow to feed us, whether they're a proverbial canary in the mines, whether they are the mice that are growing little ears and noses and other body parts on their backs to save our lives and help reconstruct a human. There are so many different things. I've got proof. All the studies, all the dates, and all of the programs are listed in this paperwork. When we are embracing a sound relationship with animals and an appreciation of their importance on Earth, approximating attitudes more prevalent in numerous societies outside of the Western sphere, even if we probably cannot finally achieve the faith in animal souls that other cultures have in ancient times, first things they painted on the walls were animal figures. For religion, maybe they were cartoons for all we know. Even our ancient ancestors felt deep inside that there was a soul-to-soul connection between us and the animals. We might strive to erase some of their perceptions and celebrate some areas in our own culture. Try to understand the value, the natural world, more than we do in our artificial environment. Animals are our spiritual colleagues and our emotional companions. Most precious and blessed, courage and daring, consciousness and compassion, imagination and originality, fantasy, play, they do not belong to our kind alone. If we can recognize the animal souls as we recognize our souls, we will have achieved much, venturing closer to the rhythms and workings of the natural world than we usually do so in our Western industrialized civilization. Animals are so important to our lives in so many ways, and yet we largely construct our world, our lives, as necessarily separate from them. We started doing that. That was so wrong. It took us so far away from our natural world and where we need to be. We should feel compelled to think about them and understand them, both on their own merits and in terms of how their existence impacts our lives. Like canaries who accompany miners into the tunnel, dying of gas inhalation before people can even smell the danger, all animals possess a sensitive survival instinct whose fragility may serve to warn us of impending threats. We've all heard the stories about how we're losing our birds, our migratory birds, our butterflies. We have no frogs anymore. We're losing all of our biodiversity. We should aspire to learn from animals, learn to sing and play and just be fun and be ourselves. For as every previous society has done to some degree, but without leaving them poorer, or crippled, or displaced, or captured, contaminated, or dead, which seems to be what we have been doing. At the vanguard of the modern intellectual industrial world, people's perceptions are so crudely stinted with respect to our sensitivity to the earth and its processes that we may overlook imminent natural hazards. How many people have read the stories of the animals that knew way before the tsunami hit to go to the higher grounds? We need to pay attention to what these guys are saying. Our cultural system seems to have proceeded just fine, disguising or sublimating the ecosystem's global warming and acid rain, eroding shorelines, dying trees, polluted rivers, disappearing nature, and so forth. It is possible to look at the world through the lens of our immensely developed and sophisticated culture and not notice anything is wrong. Hey, I made money off of that land. Hey, that helped bring electricity to 1,000 people. It is less possible to do this if we clearly attune to animal consciousnesses and perspectives. So not only are we getting something back, but we can help save the world by paying attention to the animals around us. Like animal souls, we can make things better. We all know and have read articles about how we're using animals more and more in therapeutic studies, and how animals can physically change how we feel. The relationship becomes helpful. It fulfills our inherent need to nurture. The roots of this relationship, often referred to as a bond, and people have finally heard the animal bond, and goes back thousands of years. But urbanization, industrialization, mechanization, and other forces have caused the mitigation of the opportunities of nurturing and the affectionate interactions of people. We can get more attuned to our animals, dogs, cats, horses, squirrels, snakes, bugs, tigers, lions, and bears. We can actually, through them, be more connected to the earth and our environment. So that's another blessing I feel the animals give us. There's studies about the interaction between people and animals in the natural environment that find it very difficult to overestimate the significance of animals in the lives of people everywhere. Does anyone have a clue of the number of dogs and cats in the United States right now kept as pets? 55 million pet dogs and 60 million only cats, with another 25 to 40 million feral cats and dogs running loose. At long last, animals are gaining some legitimate recognition among more and more members of professionals involved in providing health care. How many people have heard about the therapeutic horse riding? It has helped mentally and physically handicapped adults and children be able to, and we're also talking about not just physical handicaps, but autism and all kinds of things that help bring out with pets, animals, and horses in therapy. When you're up there in control of that huge, magnificent animal, can you imagine how good it makes you feel? Now, I've worked in the animal field for over 27 years as a professional. Horse people sometimes get to the point where they feel they have conquered these magnificent animals to the point where they have conquered the world. That's a good attitude to have. The importance of animals to the well-being of people is becoming more and more evident. We realize that at no time in history have so many members of Western society been devoid of a healthy interaction among themselves and with the environment. People are electing to live alone. I live alone, but I also live alone with 3 dogs and 5 cats. Many who are married choose not to have children. Singles or couples who have children are compartmentalized. Many fathers and mothers have to work outside the home, usually in different locations and sometimes with different schedules. Children are born in a hospital, spend a great deal of time in daycare, proceed to kindergarten, elementary school, high school, all in different locations. The one-room schoolhouse is no more. When at home, children are usually watching television or wearing headphones attached to a source of sound, usually loud music, the scientist says in parentheses. This deprivation of nurturing opportunities and this compartmentalization has resulted in the increased stress, depression, loneliness, and overall serious challenges that we face today. Companion animals have refused to compartmentalization. They serve as nurturers for many people. They are also the objects of nurture, promoting touch, play, sharing with very few time restraints. Many studies demonstrate the importance of touch in the human-animal relationship. What is a companion animal called? Pet. You're called your pet. What does pet mean? It means to touch or caress. This scientist found that although men in Western societies, not our men here, initiate and respond to touching much less frequently than women. In the waiting rooms of veterinarian clinics, there was no difference between men and women in the frequency, amount, and kind of touching of their pets. It seems that dogs and possibly other animals serve as the appropriate and safe object of nurture through which both men and women can express and receive affection. How many have seen guys in the street go up and hug each other? It's a chest button, bam, bam. And women are a little bit more. We're usually boo to boo, heart to heart, whatever. It's really hard for men to feel free to express themselves in public unless there's an animal around, and then you'll see the biggest dude go, hey, oh, that's not a puppy in the world. They can do that with their pets because they're allowed. Nurturing, touching, holding, protecting, giving food, and guiding evoke the same feelings when you're giving that to your pet, and same physiological events where they've stuck probes in your head and measured it as being nurtured themselves. When we care for others, we feel like we are being cared for. Promote programs with certified service animals. Develop strategies for third-party payments for animal assisted. You can help somebody get a guide dog. That's something we can do. Educate authorities regarding the meaning of the bond of the animal world. I have a few personal stories. I've worked as a veterinary technician since 1972. I had about a 5-year sowing my wild oats period where I decided I sowed enough wild oats. I was tired of working with 2-legged wildlife and wanted to work with 4-legged wildlife and went back to school. I remember starting out in the veterinary profession, animals were nothing but property. Nobody could sue you for destroying their property unless they could prove to the board that that animal is worth X amount of money. It could bring me this harvest. It's my therapy pet. You could not go to court and get anything, any reimbursement for any damage that you felt had been done to your animal. Early 90s, mid 90s, they changed that law. The animals became not property, animals became companions. So now they could sue us, from our point of view in the veterinary field, for not just, all right, this dog was going to win this show, or this horse was going to plow my field, or whatever. They could also start suing us for emotional distress. Give children and adults hands-on experience in converting zoological gardens where visitors can learn that animals not only by sight and sound. What do we have out here? We have a wonderful bonding garden right out here. We can bond with the squirrels and the chipmunks and the birds. We can bond with animals. They prove that children can be taught to care for living things, including other animals, plants, soil, and the environment, to become stewards of this planet by hands-on experience in tending the earth and its creatures, involving students in a big brother, big sister arrangement for the care and instructions in all grades. Now, granted, it takes a big leap for Susie and Joe to take care of the guinea pig in their classroom to saving the rainforest, but it's a start. I'm going to read, I'm an animal rescuer. My job is to assist her creatures. I was born with the drive to fulfill their needs. I take in helpless, unwanted, homeless creatures without planning or selection. I have bought dog food with my last dime. I have patted a mangy head with my bare hand, and I know you have. You've brought in the rescues. I've seen them. I have hugged someone vicious and afraid, and I have fallen in love thousands of times. I have cried into the fur of a lifeless body way too many times to count. I have animal friends, and friends who have animal friends. I don't often use the word pet. I notice those lost on the roadside and my heart aches. I will hand raise a field mouse. I've done it. Stupid, I know. I've done it. I will make friends with a vulture. Vomited all over me, but he was way cool. I know of no creature unworthy of my time. I want to live forever if there aren't animals in heaven. But I believe that there are. Why would God make something so perfect and then leave it behind? Some may think we're masters of animals, but the animals have mastered themselves. Something people still have not learned. War and abuse make me hurt for the world, but a rescue that makes the news gives me hope for all of mankind. We are a quiet but determined army, and we're making a difference every day. There is absolutely nothing more necessary than warming an orphan, nothing more rewarding than saving a life, and no higher recognition than watching them thrive. There is no greater joy than seeing a baby play who only days ago was too weak to eat. By the love of those that I've been privileged to rescue, I have been rescued. I know that true, unconditional love, and I know what it really is, for I've seen it shining in the eyes of so many, grateful for so little. I'm an animal rescuer. My work is never done. My home is never quiet. My wallet is always empty, but my heart is always full. We heard about her wonderful rescue on the side of the road. Yes, we did. We heard about her wonderful rescue. And who's the painter? Gary. I remember when Gary came in, he was a client of ours. He had never had a dog before. He'd always had cats. And he found a tree and walker pup on the side of the road. Big old tree and walker, black and white. Gorgeous dog. He came in, I'm going to have a dog, my first dog. And he looked at him and went, oh my God, Gary, your first dog is a coon dog? And you want to make him a house dog? Okay, and we're there with you. And he did it. He did it. He fell in love with her. She was, of course, the most wonderful thing. We just said, okay, just keep her on a leash when you go out. That's the only thing. I've known these dogs their whole lives. I remember when this one was a found one. Where did you find her?
Well, she came down our road and we thought she was our cat.
That's how hippie you were, huh?
when we got her, shall I tell the truth, my sons didn't want me to
Yep,
keep
because
her.
why?
Because she was a pit.
Because she's a pit,
And
which is
so-
what we call pit bulls.
And I took her to Pete Smith, and he said she'd make a wonderful family dog.
It's an American Staffordshire Terrier. So many people are afraid to pick older animals, but that way you know what you have. You know whether it's hyper, whether it's settled down, whether it's, a house pooper or whatever it is.
Let me show you her trick. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. That's it.
Beautiful. This was the sweetest dog. Pitties are so wonderful. They might be a little aggressive toward other breeds and other dogs, but they are people dogs 100%.
Well, they're a reflection of their owners.
Aww.
But Jen tells the story to sheep towns where they're out in the watershed doing water samples. The puppies are covered in hundreds of ticks.
Oh, yeah.
She found us.
So that goes to show ya, these people that take their dogs out into the country and turn them loose because they will survive. Maybe several thousand years ago they would have. But we've domesticated these little dudes. This little bitch wouldn't survive out in the wild on her own. No, it wouldn't. She'd be eaten by coyotes and be so full of little ticks.
This is Darwin. We've only had him for, this is day 3. He was a shelter rescue.
Pretty laid back little thing.
I actually appreciate this.
Yeah, see, that's what's
This is June. I also have a horse that I was looking to board in Athens for the first time. She was also sort of a rescue, the horse and our dog and our cat. I found a place and the family was getting ready to move off of the farm. And they said I could keep my horse there for free if I watched after the dog and the horse that they could not take with them. And we couldn't leave June there all alone. So there was a really bad thunderstorm coming up, so we said she could stay with us for one night. And that was several months ago.
This is Ariel. She's a full-bred Shih Tzu. Her master, being raised her to 4 years, I think she was 4 years old, he died. She was put in foster home. I saw her online. There's a woman outside of Columbus who has a rescue. I saw her and I thought she looked pretty cool. When I went to get her, she seemed to be really attached to me, so she came home and we stayed together ever since.
Special bonding. You don't have to go to a pet store. There are breed-specific rescues everywhere.
2 years ago, June of 2012, Daniel was deployed. I'd been having just a really rough time being home alone with the toddler. And then I got this call from my mom. My grandpa had had a major health incident down at his condo in North Carolina. She'd gone down and gotten him, brought him back. And the doctors were saying, it's his heart, it's not good. And she called that day and she's like, yeah, they've recommended him for hospice, which means the doctors think he has 6 months or less. And so I'm just laying there really depressed and looking at this fish. All the fish had died in the last 2 months. One Plecostomus left in there. And I'm like, you know what, little 2-year-old Nora? We need something alive. Get in the car. So we went to the fish store and I decided that what I really needed was a koi. Just a tiny little koi, only like 2-3 inches long. And sure, they get big, but they live forever, so how fast can they get big? So I'll have it for a while. I've got a 10-gallon tank. I'll get a bigger tank in a year or so. And then when it gets too big to really have, I have a friend with a pond and the fish can move on. And besides, fish don't really live. So a year later, hugely pregnant. The fish is way too big for the 10-gallon tank. So I get a 20-gallon tank and try to set that up all over my belly. This'll keep a while. This summer, the 20-gallon tank wasn't holding it anymore. This fish, apparently koi, you find out when they reach the first time the water heats up after they're 8 inches long. If it's a girl, it lays eggs. So turquoise is a girl. She's now about 10 inches long, and this summer we got her a 75-gallon aquarium. Because, okay, well, she could survive in a pond now. I should really let her go in a pond. But my grandpa is doing really well. And so I have a magical fish that I can't let go of.
My dad wrote a poem about his last dog. Oh! He wanted me to read it for you. On one side is a picture of mom and dad. Every now and then, when he writes a letter to someone, he'll stick this in it. You know, it's kind of a neat little personal gift. The dog was named Barry, their first grandchild. Got it for him on their 50th wedding anniversary. They came to him in a box. They didn't know what was in there. They found out it was this puppy. They weren't too happy at first, but you know how it goes. It becomes part of the family, and it became fiercely loyal, a real member of the family. Dad and mom and Barry was its name. It was all black except for its teeth. It was Chow and German Shepherd. So even its tongue was black, and it was really a nice dog. The poem is called Poochie's Trust. A dad belongs to a poetry group in town. They meet every 2 weeks. The years had shortened Poochie's leap and found more hours for her to sleep. She missed the rabbits at the gate. Her eyes had dimmed, her leaps were late. Poochie missed the walks once long when Master whistled and sang a song. Now he mumbled and stumbled about, while Poochie kept him on his route. When her old master set the date of Poochie's ride to meet her fate, she knew her hours were very few, but trusted her master would be there too.
Oh, yeah. They protect you, they save you, physically, emotionally.
Shapes and wiggly things. Bears, bats, furry rats, anything that sings, anything that hops, crawls, flies, or swims in the salty sea. Good job! It's a thing that's got its touch and so a friend to me. Dogs, bunnies, frogs, snakes and wiggly things. Bears, bats, furry rats, anything that sings, anything that hops, crawls, flies, or swims in the salty seas, is a thing that's got its touch and so a friend to me. Bears, bats, furry rats, anything that sings, anything that hops, crawls, flies, or swims in the salty seas, is a thing that's got its touch and so a friend to me. Cats, dogs, bunnies, frogs, snakes and wiggly things. Bears, bats, furry rats, anything that sings, anything that hops, crawls, flies, or swims in the salty seas, is a thing that's got its touch and so a friend to me. Notice the pictures. Cats, dogs, bunnies, frogs, snakes and wiggly things. Bears, bats, furry rats, anything that sings, anything that hops, crawls, flies, or swims in the salty seas, is a thing that's got its touch and so a friend to me.
We are going to bless our animals that are here, animals that have touched our lives, animals that we'll see in our future. Surrounded by the animals we love, we remember with gratitude the pets, protectors, and animal companions who have blessed our lives.
We give thanks for our childhood pets who taught us to love and try. We give thanks for our children's pets who help us to teach them responsibility and new relationships. And we give thanks for the pets who brighten our days and comfort our nights.
Surrounded by beloved pets, we remember that many animals suffer.
We remember that some animals are hunted or deserted or tortured or hungry. We remember that nature can be cruel and people can be mean. We remember and want to help.
Surrounded by the animals we love, we know that many animals contribute to our lives.
We give thanks for all those animals who help us. Worker animals who guard us and find our lost and guided line. The animals who provide food and clothing, who tote our burdens and entertain them with our innocence. And for animals who give their lives to help us learn.
Spirit of life, help us to remember that we live and work and love among the animals. Help us to be their friends, to love them and care for them and protect them from harm. To thank them when we use their lives for ours. Especially this morning, Spirit of life, bless these animals who are the companions of our lives. Hear our outpouring of love and gratitude for them, and and help us translate that into love and gratitude for all your creatures. We bless these animals we love. We pledge to care for them with tenderness, faithfully, and to remember that we are not alone on this earth. And we'll say together, please, the words for extinguishing our chalice.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go in peace, speak the truth, give thanks each day, respect the earth and her creatures, for they are alive like you. Care for your body, it is a wondrous gift. Live simply, be of service. Be guided by your faith and not your fear. Go lightly on your path. Walk in order to not tempt our animals too much. We put off the potluck from today until next week.
I'm the Vice President of the Disaster Animal Response Board of Athens County. We are District 4 Homeland Security. We are only deployed by the Emergency Management Agency, and we work with the Red Cross. This is strictly a volunteer group, yet it is government mandated. Since the PET Act was passed right after Katrina, there has to be something in place for animals during a disaster. As you've noticed in the wildfire disasters, how you saw in the news that the first responders were telling people, grab your animals, let's go. Grab your animals, let's go. We have fought for so many years to have first responders say, grab your animals and go. The only way they can do that is if there is a DART team that has set up a shelter for the animals outside of the Red Cross shelter. We have 11 counties in southeastern Ohio. www.ARRC, Animal Rescue Response Coalition. ARRC.org.
Have a good week. Go in peace.
Nora, no. Let it go. Okay, but if she'll prevent them from going in the woods. Hey Nora, do you see how that dog is struggling to get away from you? That means it doesn't want to be held like that. Okay.
They are such sweet little fluff balls.
Take care.